Hey guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. I did a video on nail guns before, but today we're going to dive a little deeper into nail gun features and safety tips. So stick around, I'll see you right after this. Now, all of us have seen those construction workers whizzing along on a construction project with their nail guns clapping away like it's a semi-automatic weapon. But upon closer inspection of a nail gun, we find that it operates in different modes. Let's see what they are. Now, if you need or want more accuracy when driving your nails in, you want to set the gun on what's called sequential actuation mode, also called single shot firing. Now, to operate the nail gun in sequential actuation mode, you have to slide the selector switch, which is this right here, to the single nail icon. So that's the single nail icon right there. Then you want to make sure the nose piece, or what's called the contact trip, contacts the surface. Then press the gun all the way down to the surface until the motor starts. Then pull the trigger. Release the trigger, lift up the gun from the workpiece, and then repeat. Press it all the way down until the motor starts. So when you're talking about sequential actuation mode, you actually have to go through a sequence of steps. First, contacting the work with your nose piece or contact trip and pressing it down all the way until the motor starts. After you drive your nail in, release the trigger and pull it away from the work. You want to use sequential actuation mode when very careful and accurate placement and depth control is required or desired. Precision is more important than speed when using sequential actuation mode. It's also the best mode for maximum delivery and power when driving long nails. Not to mention, sequential actuation mode is much safer than any other mode because of all the sequential steps it takes for the nail gun to actually eject a nail, making it a slower process, but the most safe. Okay, so the next mode that we're going to talk about is the bump action mode. And the way you get to the bump action mode is you go to your selector, you flick it to the right, and that'll reveal the 3-nail icon. Now, bump action is meant for rapid fire nailing on flat surfaces, and it's optimal for shorter nails. With bump action mode, you have to pull the trigger, keep your finger on the trigger as you nail. Unlike sequential actuation mode, where you have to release your finger from the trigger and pull away from the surface every time you drive a nail. With bump action mode, just pull the trigger and go for it. As you can see, it's a trade-off between the two modes, speed versus accuracy. Sequential actuation is for accuracy. For example, when fastening metal plates with defined pre-drilled nail holes, like hurricane ties, strong ties, or joist straps. With bump action firing, you don't have to be as precise. For example, when you're laying plywood or maybe some 2x6s. It's fast and way more productive in those cases. Now, another variation of sequential actuation, otherwise known as full sequential firing, is something called single sequential firing. Single sequential firing is similar to sequential actuation, otherwise known as full sequential firing, but the difference is you don't have to lift the contact tip off of the surface every time you install or drive a nail. You can simply drag the contact tip along the surface, release the trigger every time you install or drive a nail. Once again, I want to see the single nail icon when I do this. Okay, so let's talk about safety. Most tools today, including nail guns, are designed to be as safe as possible, but there's always going to be a risk. Nothing's 100% safe, okay? So in the case of nail guns, they can misfire when the gun's being loaded. Or let's just say you're removing a jam. Anything can happen there. Just like I say in most of my videos when it comes to power tools, unplug your power tool or take the battery out anytime you're doing any adjustments, or in the case of a nail gun, removing a jam or loading it or whatever you're doing to it. And if you have a pneumatic nail gun, that's a nail gun where it's connected to a compressor, an air compressor, you definitely want to disconnect that air compressor hose as well from the gun. That's for your own safety. They even have guns powered by butane cartridges. Definitely want to remove the cartridge before you do any loading or unloading of nails, or if you're going to take care of a jam in the gun as well. Protect your hands, guys. Protect your hands. I know you just saw me nailing these two pieces of wood together. If you want to be safe and you're fastening two pieces of wood together, please use some clamps so your hands won't be the clamp, risking injury by the nail gun. These things are not that expensive, but I guarantee you, they're well worth the money. Well, here's a fun fact. It's not so fun, but nails have penetrated the material and went through the other side completely and flew out the other side. So you want to make sure that nobody's in the line of fire when you're using a nail gun. You don't want to do this stuff right here while you're nailing as well, right? You don't want to have one hand on the other side of the nail. That's just plain idiotic. Don't do that. I don't care if it's a leg or a foot or a hand or whatever part of your body. You should not have it in the line of fire of your nail gun tip, even if it's on the other side of the material. If you got an air gun or a pneumatic nail gun, never lower it from a ladder or a roof by the hose itself. Very dangerous. It can become disconnected, hit the ground, misfire, and nails can go anywhere. This tip can hit the ground, it can hit a wall, and that's all it takes to activate the nail gun, especially if it's in bump action mode. All right, guys, so this is the nail depth adjuster knob right here. I mentioned this on my last video about nail guns. You guys can check that out. And with this knob, you can adjust how deep your nail is going to penetrate the surface. Now, that may not matter as much depending on what you're doing. If you are putting exterior walls or sheathing on the framing on the exterior part of the wall studs, or if you're framing a wall, it may not matter as much. But if you want a smooth surface, you may want the nail heads to be a little deeper than the surface. So when you apply the putty in the drywall, it'll be a nice smooth surface. Well, you can control how deep your nail is going to go beneath the surface with this knob right here. So as I turn it, you see this right here go back and forth. So if you're building furniture like bookcases and things like that, cabinets and so forth, you may want your nail to go a little bit beneath the surface. Now, if by some strange reason you find that your nails stick above the surface when you're using the nail gun, it could be because of your technique. Perhaps you're holding the nail gun away from the surface a little bit or lifting it from the surface a bit when you engage the trigger. Make sure that tip is firmly pressed against the surface when you activate the trigger. All right, guys, I'm pretty sure you learned a little bit more about nail guns than you did before, if you're not a pro already. And if you did learn something and appreciate the content, don't hesitate to hit that like and subscribe button and share button. And don't forget to go to Calibrate.com, guys. It's a great way to support the channel by picking up some of the products we have there. Some great gift items as well, since the holidays are coming up. Sign up for the email list while you're there, too. See you next time.